Today I'm going to talk about surrender. I had a really great martial arts class on Saturday. I run a black belt course, like a private course for a small group of individuals, a small group of dedicated people that want to really learn about their potential. And every time I do a course, every time I do mentoring, because I do lots of mentoring, every time I do like a sovereignty course or masterclass, every time I talk to someone on the phone, I sit down and write notes about not so much what I've taught, but what I've learned. So every time I'm put in front of somebody, which is my dharma, to be in front of people, I write down what I've learned myself, what I've been shown. And I'm getting loads at the moment. And the big one I got on Saturday was about surrender. And I'm talking about complete surrender. And whether that's surrender to a physical technique, like we were doing some punching. We specialise in close range punching. I'm trying to get these guys to be world class punchers from 18 inches, and some of them are amazing. Whether you're surrendering to a punch, or whether you're surrendering to a relationship, or whether you're surrendering to a method, or whether you're surrendering to, if you're having a conversation with someone, even if I'm having a conversation with a stranger on the telephone, or I'm bumping into someone and I have a conversation with somebody on a bus, it's about being present and surrendering just to that moment. When we surrender, we connect to essence, we connect to purpose or logos, we connect to God. And when we connect, when we surrender to that presence, we experience bliss. So that's the highest level of service. This is what I learned on Saturday. People often wonder why I'm still teaching martial arts. I'm still teaching martial arts because it's still teaching me. I'm still in front of people and still learning loads and loads of stuff from these amazing people that dedicate a year of their life to come and train with me. And I'm having to write notes down and thinking, who's teaching who here? So Saturday was a great example, because the course, the reason I'm on the course and the reason I'm doing the course and the reason I'm mentoring is because the way for me to find my potential, my greatest potential, to connect to my greatest potential, I need to create the necessity to be able to connect to my greatest potential. If I'm just sat in a cave somewhere meditating, or if I'm hiding away from society, there's probably no need for me, no necessity for me to expand consciousness or to learn more. What I'm finding at the moment is that what I am given, the information I'm given, is on a need to teach basis. If I put myself in front of lots of people that I need to teach, I'm given more information. And I'm given information that I didn't know I had. Like I was teaching someone the other week. I may have said this before, forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But it stands repeating. And I was a guy I was mentoring, a very accomplished man, very successful man in his life, very beautiful man actually. We started off the conversation, I had 3 hours with him, we started off the conversation talking about Rumi. And I said to him, this beautiful verse from Rumi, love is not a subtle argument, the door there is devastation. And I said to him, of course, what that means is, in order to access love, the frequency, the power, we have to devastate the mind. We have to bypass the mind. Not devastating that we have to crush it, but devastating that we have to take the sovereignty away from the mind. The mind is no longer in charge. The mind is subservient to something bigger. And the ego is subservient to something bigger. And the sensual and physical body are subservient to something bigger. So I said to him, what it actually means is that we have to bypass the mind to access love, to access the frequency of love. And when we access the frequency of love, it's powerful. But I didn't know I knew that until I was talking to this guy. So I was told that because this person needed to hear it. And when he needed to hear it, and I passed it on to him. I was the conduit for it. I was given it. So for me to do that, I had to completely surrender. I had to go there, meeting this person. I met this particular week. I met 6 people. They were all managers, CEOs. They were all kind of. They all ran their own companies. They all worked for a big company, a huge company, an 8-figure company. They all work for an 8-figure company, but they're all kind of managers of satellite companies within this company. So when I met these people, I don't know who they are, I only know their job title. I have to surrender to the fact that what they need to hear will come through. I have to surrender. So before I go and meet them, I go and sit in a church and I meditate maybe for 40 minutes, and I just say in my mind, I'm going to meet somebody. I don't know what they need to hear, but you know what they need to hear. Please work through me. Let me be a conduit. Let me be a tabernacle. Let me be a pure vessel for whatever they need to hear. I want to serve these people. It sounds like I'm trying to be a great bloke. I'm not. When I serve these people, it serves me. I'm telling people things that I didn't know myself. It's amazing. So when we surrender, gifts or talents fall from the sky. Sometimes in the form of knowledge and information, and sometimes literally gifts. On this Saturday course, I won't go into the detail of it, but I was brought 2 gifts, 2 very powerful gifts that were very connected to what I was teaching about surrender and about trust. There was 2 very important gifts that people brought me that I didn't expect, and it was. And then when I came home from the course, had an email from somebody saying, we would like to produce your new play. I've done a play for James Cosmo. Well, it's a film, but it's a play as well. And I had a company, without going into too much detail, the company got in touch with me and said, we would like to do your play in London. Are you interested? I am interested. That happened because I surrendered. The week before, I was teaching a group of people for my black belt course. I've got 2 courses running at the moment. One of them's about to finish. And I was surrendered again. I did a course and I taught to the group, very discerning people, very beautiful people. And I said, my dharma, my purpose is to serve. I learn through serving. There's huge profit. The exponential effect of service it's actually secondary. It's massive, but it's secondary. The actual purpose of service is that at the highest level of our development, when we serve other people, the service is the reward, because we get this feeling of bliss. There is a dissolution of separation. So the emotion that separates us from other people, this false belief that we have that we're separate from other people, dissolves. So there's a dissolution of separation and we just feel bliss. That's what we feel. That's the main reward. That's when you look at the Old Testament and it says God created the world in 7 days. The subtextual meaning of that, from Swedenborg's translation and from my own belief, is that it's the 7 stages of man's development, from being a selfish clod to being a selfless man who is married to the land, a selfless person that wants to serve, because they know that when they serve they experience dissolution of separation and they connect to bliss, they connect to essence. So I did that the Saturday before and I was surrendered. I was talking to one of my students who also happens to be a very powerful businessman, and I was asking him about an idea I had for raising money for some films. I want to do films that transform people's lives. I want films with honesty and with integrity and with essence, so that when people, these films I'm writing are films that I use to wash myself. I wash myself internally by writing about all of the things that are shameful or angry or jealous or envious. I clean myself when I write. That's why I write. I don't see myself as Geoff Thompson, a writer. I see writing as a method of cleaning. and martial arts. I don't see myself as Geoff Thompson, the martial artist. I see myself as somebody that uses martial arts to clean. It cleanses me. When I'm throwing a punch and I'm getting the rhythm, it's an act of masoji, what Ushiba called masoji, cleansing through physical rhythm. I'll come back to that in a minute. So the week before, I said to my friend, you know what? I wanted to raise this money for these films, because I want these films to go out as apostles and plant seeds and work for people, so that at 6 in the morning or 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning or whenever it is people wake up, for me it was always 4 in the morning, waking up with beads of sweat and terror running through my body, depressed. So I want people to be able to access this material, these films, somewhere online free, and it'll be able to help clean them. If it's clean me, it'll help to clean them. And I said, so I've got this idea about raising money, what do you think? And he said, how much are you looking to raise? And I told him, and within a conversation, I'd raised enough money. This hugely generous man gave me enough money to produce 2 films that I'm producing this year. 2 micro budget films, 1 feature, 1 short. That appeared. It appeared because I surrendered. And what I surrendered to was truth. The truth is, I want to create films and podcasts and books that help people to clean, that help people to access their potential. The reason I couldn't surrender before was because I felt like if I asked people, this was a perception, an old script, I felt like if I asked people, I was begging, that I was going with a begging bowl. I was going with a cap to beg for pennies. That's a perception, it's an egoic perception. What I was shown in that moment of surrender is that when we surrender to our potential, when we get rid of the ego and we say, I want to work from love, and I want to create things that help other people to do the same, and we connect to essence, everything we need will present itself. But to do that, I had to wash this old script that said, if you ask, you're begging. What I realized at that moment was that in surrendering, if I surrendered to people, like when we raised the money for Romans 12:20, for instance, when we surrendered to these people and said we want to make money to do a film about the metaphysical power of forgiveness, will you help us? Our surrender enabled them to put their energy across, and their energy was in the form of money. It was the money shape. It enabled them to unburden themselves of energy that they'd accumulated and use it to become a part of a divine plan, or the divine plan. It's really hard to explain, but when we surrender and we allow people, because obviously some of us are great at giving, but we're not great at receiving. I'm really good at giving. I enjoy giving. I get bliss from giving. I'm not quite so good at asking and receiving, because I feel greedy, or because that's how I've been brought up. I actually feel dirty if I ask. If I say, can you help me with this? It feels something dirty rises up in me, and it's to do with conditioning. It's to do with old scripts. It's to do with perception. It's to do with mind. It's to do with ego. So when I surrendered to that, and I just said, I don't know what to do here. I said this to my friend. I don't know what to do here. Do you think this is a good idea? Because he's much more experienced in the business side of things than I am. It just appeared, and I realised in that moment, because I felt bliss, he felt bliss, the separation disappeared. He was able to give and I was able to receive, and both of us were able to let go of our burden, which was we allowed the energy to move. So he moved his energy to me, and I moved the energy to the producers, and the producers will move the energy into the unfolding of the film. When we give, we become part of the divine plan if we give from love. When we receive, we allow other people to become part of the divine plan. If we're working from love, if we're working from logos or purpose. And I definitely, unequivocally, I definitely am. There are moments when I'm not. There are moments when I I fall into greed, and I fall into fear, and I fall into cynicism and doubt. I don't stay there long because I know myself, and when those things come up, if they've got the label of fear, I know they're not me, I know they're not real. So like everybody else, I have my moments like that, but I am certain about the fact that we're going to make a film called The Pyramid Text, which is about love. We're going to make a film called Three Sacks Full of Hats, which is about love. I'll produce The Caretaker. My friend Sean Disparango shot £70,000 worth of photographs to illustrate this book free. He did it because he loved the project, and I approached him because I loved his work. We were both working from Logos, and it just appeared. It just happened. That's what happens when we surrender. So on a very basic level, I'm holding the pads for one of the guys on the course, and he's an amazing puncher. His name's Wayne, and I'm demonstrating to the class that if we get into the rhythm, it creates cleansing. And when we get into the rhythm and we get rid of the separation between me as a Yuki and him as somebody hitting the pads, there is just an experience of connection and bliss. So I'm getting into the rhythm, boom, 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 and he's got a pure function in his punch, pure function. There's nothing extraneous, there's nothing ostentatious, it's just a pure, direct, beautiful, world-class professional punch. Where we're teaching at this particular time, we're in a small section of a sports centre, and over across, curtained on the other side, is a room full of maybe 60 to 100 people playing either badminton or spectating. Maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe there's 50 people there. When I got this rhythm going, the whole room stopped. Everybody on the other side, the people playing badminton, stopped to watch. The spectators stopped to watch. The room fell into complete silence. That's because we created bliss, we created essence, we connected to Logos, we connected to God through a physical punch, and it was a cleansing exercise, and everybody felt cleansed. Because we were connecting to essence, that essence is like an internal wash. It goes through and sweeps away any of our shadows, any of our old scripts. We have to surrender to do that. If we surrender, everything we want is already there. Everything we want to access is already there. It's already ours. We put it there. In Christian theology, they call it realized eschatology. And what that basically means is that we have access to everything. Everything we do on this planet is just an exchange of energy, and it's all based on perception. The value is based on perception, and perception is based on previous delivery of a promise. The whole world, the money system, the wars, the war and peace, politics, it's all based on perception. We just exchange energy. That's what we do. We're here creating things, maintaining things, dissolving things, and it's just the use of energy. So what they're saying is in Christian theology that everything, that the abundance, or in Hinduism they say the abundance is always there to access, and it has to be accessed through us. So it's always there, we just have to learn how to access it. So realized eschatology says what we need is already there, always already there. We just have to find out how to get it. So imagine if you've got £1 billion in a bank account, and you can access that by putting your card into the wall and punching in the numbers. Realized eschatology says that's how it is. We've all got that access to any amount of energy we want, but we have to find the combination. We have to put the card in the wall and find the combination. The combination for me is about surrendering. So if I want the numbers to the keypad on the cash point, the numbers are surrender. When I surrender, I open the vault to everything I want. If I can't surrender, it's because I'm experiencing fear, I'm experiencing doubt, I'm experiencing false perception, small core beliefs, I'm experiencing karma, which is just stored perception. So the key is to recognize that our access to it is to surrender. To surrender means what we said before about Rumi. Love is not a subtle argument, the door there is devastation. In other words, to get through to the vault where the money is, where the energy is, we have to bypass the mind. We have to surrender the mind. We have to surrender the ego. We have to surrender the individuality. That takes practice. That takes a lot of practice. Surrender is the ultimate courage. When I forgive somebody, that's an act of surrender. And I'm forgiving specifically so I can clean, so I can cleanse. In Ho'oponopono, the ancient Hawaiian shamanic art, they talk about the fact that we're only here to clean. We're here to clean perception. We're here to clean cognition. We do that by forgiving people. We do that by asking for forgiveness. We do that by cleaning old beliefs and expanding the second self, or what Freud would call re-educating the superego, the internal parent. So we just keep expanding until there is no longer an ego, an internal parent and an id, and our access to the universe. There is just oneness, there is just being. Or the word that came to me in my meditation the other morning was neutrality. We find a place of neutrality. That's the sovereign state. That's what I teach on my masterclass. That's what I teach on my sovereignty course. We're teaching people to access neutrality. So that's beyond the physical body, beyond the sensual body, beyond the mind body, beyond the egoic body, beyond the observer, just to this place of Atman or soul or super soul or the collective unconscious, or whatever you want to call it. I think in science they call it the quantum vacuum, something like that. I don't know science very well, but there is a precedent in science for it called the quantum vacuum. So we access a place of neutrality. So the key to the kingdom is surrender. When we surrender and we bypass the mind, the thinking mind, we access everything. Rumi said, sell, what was the words he used? I'll try and get it right for you. Sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment. It's not an intellectual argument. It isn't an intellectual construct. We're trying to convey it through intellect, through the intellect and through stories and parables, but it can't be fully explained like that. It has to be felt. When we feel surrender, we know what it is, but it's very difficult to articulate. So the lesson for today for me is that when I surrender, the gifts fall from the sky. And it's practical, it's pragmatic. The ability to heal, the ability to serve other people, the ability to create money shapes if that's what we need to do to build infrastructure, the ability to build a home, the ability to create a business, the ability to live in the world, the ability to be free. Freedom comes from surrender. Surrender to love. Not love as an emotion, love as a frequency, love as a place. It's fucking massively powerful. It's so powerful. And it's as close to us as our neck vein. So it's just something we've got to practice. At some point, we have to surrender to other people. And look, if I'm holding the pad for my student has to surrender to me. And I have to surrender to him. Then when we're hitting the pad, there isn't any longer a separation between me and him. There is just unity. So if I do pad work or some judo work with my son Lewis, when we do uchikomi, moving up and down, doing repeating a certain technique hundreds and thousands of times, we will break into a unity consciousness where we are together, where we absolute. There's no separation. And when we do it, we feel bliss when we do it. We completely feel bliss. But it's difficult to surrender, because when you surrender and that bliss flows through you, it will expose any shadows that exist, any old scripts, any divisions, any lies, any sins, whatever you want to call it. Sin means to miss the target. Any demons, demon means divided thoughts, divided self. So when we access bliss, it flushes out old scars. It's very, very, very healing. So we can heal through practicing a right cross. I can do a right cross on a pad. Boom. If you just imagine I've got the pads here, and boom, boom, boom. Just get the rhythm going, and you can cleanse. People have told me that you can't cleanse with the physical technique. I absolutely, unequivocally know you can. It's one of the ways of doing it, and it's beautiful when we do it properly and everything connects. We fall into a zone and we are cleansed in a very real physical way. It picks up all the shit and just cleans it out. And like I said, I've said on all of these podcasts, we're living in the world. So this stuff needs to work with our finances. This stuff needs to work in our business. It needs to work with our health. It needs to work with our relationships. Otherwise, what's the point of it? There's no point at all. It needs to work with those things. It needs to meet those needs. And of course it does, because it's all created from the same place. So it does. I'm the proof that it does. And I'm surrounded by people that I'm working with who are also the proof that it does. But of course, you know, you need to be the proof yourself. You need to do it yourself. So surrender is one of the ways to do it. People aren't successful in relationships because they don't surrender to the relationship, because they're afraid to surrender in case they're hurt. People don't succeed in business because they don't surrender to business. They don't surrender to commerce. There's nothing wrong with business. There's nothing wrong with commerce. We're working in the world. There's nothing wrong with money. Money is God. Money is an exchange of energy, and that all comes from the same soil. It all comes from the same clay. It's just making sure that the exchange of energy is proportionate, and that the exchange of energy comes from Logos, and that the energy that we exchange keeps moving. If the energy doesn't move, it becomes a disciple of death. So it needs to work in the real world, and of course it does, but you need to be the proof of that yourself. So to surrender takes tremendous courage, even to surrender within a relationship, even to surrender to yourself, even to look in the mirror and have a good honest look at yourself and surrender to what you see. So if we're feeling fear or anger, anger is fear. If we're feeling jealousy, jealousy is fear. If we feel envy, envy of course is fear. If we feel cynicism, cynicism of course is fear. If we feel judgment, judgment of course is fear. If it comes with the message of fear, we know that it's wrong. We automatically know that it's wrong. If it comes with a message of love, we don't need to know the minutiae, we just know that it's true. We're working from love. So surrender, practice surrendering, practice every day. When I teach people, wherever I am, whether I'm teaching executives or whether I'm teaching children or whether I'm teaching, you know, prisoners or wherever I'm teaching, ultimately I'm just teaching them to practice surrender. Surrender through a punch, surrender through writing, surrender through art, surrender through business, surrender through relationships, surrender through health. You know, that's what religion is. Religion means to reconnect, religare, or religio. It means to connect man to his source. So we surrender to our source. Surrender is the ultimate courage. If you're coming from a place of anger, you haven't surrendered. You're still in a place of insecurity and fear. If you're coming from a place of judgment, you haven't surrendered. You're coming from insecurity and fear. If you're still cynical, you are not coming from love. You're coming from insecurity and fear. If you're aggressive, it's because you're coming from insecurity and from fear. If you feel the need to challenge all the time, which people do, you're coming from insecurity, you're coming from fear. When you're coming from love, there is no such thing as conflict or competition. We recognize that we all have a fingerprint. We are the fingerprint, or the unique self that it's. We all have a unique fingerprint, and no one can compete with that. There's no competition in the marketplace. There's no competition in the world. Our fingerprint or our individual unique cell is connected to everything else. So if we want to know, if we want to discern whether we're in the right place or the wrong place, if it's coming from fear, then you're in the wrong place. It will lead you to the right place eventually. When you're coming from love and from Logos, that's all you need. The truth will set you free. When Arjuna goes into the battle of Guru, etc., and he's faced by tens of thousands of warriors, all he has on his golden chariot is the bow of Gandiva, which is a bow built by God, the God of the universe, and he has 2 infinite quivers of arrows, and the arrows represent truth. In the back of his chariot he has Krishna, and Krishna represents consciousness or awareness, massive spatial awareness. So he has awareness and truth. That's all we need. If we are angry, if we are fearful, if we are jealous, if we're envious, if we're greedy, if we're cynical, if we're judgmental, we are not aligned. We can kid ourselves all day long that we are, and we can pretend to be rebels, and we can masturbate on that if we want, but we're not aligned. When you're aligned, you'll know you're aligned because you're working from love, you're working from Logos. And all you want to do when you reach that place is serve other people. And you want to serve other people because serving other people will serve you. It's fucking amazing. It's amazing. I'm aware as I'm saying this, I can see my own reflection in the camera, and I'm fully aware that I'm talking to myself. I need to hear this every single day, because fucking every single day I fall. There isn't a single day I don't make mistakes. There are so many people in the world that I've hurt. I've hurt my children, and I hope they can forgive me. I've hurt my family. I hope they can forgive me. I love all of them. I've hurt my friends. I've not been a good friend to lots of people in my life, and I hope they can forgive me. I love them. I was meditating this morning doing a cleaning exercise, and the amount of people that came up in my mind that I have hurt, I don't need to name them. I don't need to name them because there's too many, and I wouldn't want to embarrass them. All I know is that when I hurt you, it is torture to my soul. So all I do is I go to my soul and I apologise and I say, I'm very sorry. I didn't know what I was doing when I hurt these people, and sometimes I did know what I was doing. Please forgive me, I'm sorry, I love you. So this isn't me being on here trying to be a great bloke. This is me saying I'm full of sin, I'm full of fault, but I'm working on it every single day. I am aligned, I know who I am, and the only reason I know who I am is because I know who I'm not. And when those parts of me that rise up that are not me, I observe them. I dissolve them. I get rid of the separation. If there's a divide in me, there's a separation. Separation's an illusion. I get rid of the separation by dissolving it. The dissolution of separation. So then eventually we become absolute. There's a great line in my play, Fragile, which is coming on soon at the in Birmingham, at the Old Joint Stock. If you can go and watch it, it's really worth watching. The whole play is about my own cleansing. And if you watch it, it will help you to cleanse as well, because it gives you permission to cleanse even the darkest stuff, especially the darkest stuff. So the whole play is about cleansing, and it's kind of taking all the shame and anger and guilt and rage and bringing it out and cleaning it, and then helping other people to clean as well. So the whole idea is not that I'm perfect, but I'm aligned and congruent, and I work from love. When I'm successful, and I experience success every single day, I'm working from love. When I'm not successful, and I feel these little breakdowns in success every single day, it's because I'm not working from love. I'm working from mind, I'm working from ego, I'm working from fear. So this is about trying to move up an octave at a time, as it says in the Quran, little by little. Just keep moving forward, just keep moving ahead. To all the people out there, to my children, to my ex-wife, to my family, to my new wife, to my old friends and my new friends, I know at times that I have been remiss. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I love ya.